What we're not going to do is we're not going to wake the baby. In December, I was going to go through every book that I read, but you know what, guys? I have a reading wrap up from every single month. So if you want to know all of the 126 books that I read in the year of 2024, you can go check that out. But I do want to talk about the 18 books that I read in December. I'm going to start off with 10 books because it's all in one book. And that is this, Spruce Crossing Christmas. Okay, when I went into December, I said to myself, you know what I want? I want cheesy romance. I want predictable. I want Christmas, okay? For December, personally for me, this is not for everyone, but for me, in December, it's the only time I can read Christmas books. And I love Christmas. I love Hallmark movies. I love Christmas books. I love all of that. And so I wanted something super, super cheesy and super, super fun. And these are 10 basically novellas that is actually free on Kindle Unlimited. I don't have Kindle Unlimited though, so I just got the physical copy of them, and it wasn't that expensive either. So, but these are 10 books, as you can see, all in the back. And it's Christmas Memories, Second Chance Holiday, Fake Relationship for Christmas, Three Hearts for Christmas, Christmas Performance, Decorating for Christmas, Christmas Heartstrings, Christmas Adventure, Christmas Mishaps, and Christmas Promise. These are all by Ruby Hill. They're all clean romances. There's no smut in them. My battery's dying. Why didn't I change this? Hold on. There we go. Okay, great. So anyways, this is a no smut, no spice romance book. It's pretty straightforward. It's what you're going to get. Each book is about 60 to 70 pages long. I don't think any of the books reached 80 pages. And they were just fun. And yes, I did count them as individual books that I read in December. You cannot. This is my channel, my show, my Goodreads. And that is what I decided. So yeah, anyways, it was good. I really liked it. It was very cheesy. It was exactly what I wanted. Exactly what I wanted. Well, I don't know what I read next, but I do know that I did read Survive the Night. This is by Riley Sager. Is this a Christmas story? No. But here's what happened. I was at my parents' house and I forgot to bring my book. And so I was like, okay, well, what do I have on my Kindle that I haven't read yet, that I've bought, but I haven't read it? And I had this book on here, as well as another one that I also read in December, and I will show you in a bit. And anyways, Survive the Night by Riley Sager is about this girl who's basically in a car with this guy, a complete stranger, and there is a campus murderer on the campus that she goes to, the college that she goes to, and she thinks she's in the car with him, and so she's trying to survive that night. This was not great. It just wasn't that great. I think I gave it 2 stars, maybe. It just, you have to be the dumbest person in the world in order for this to work. Like, there were so many things that happened, so many situations that came about that you were like, girl, get it together. And she just decided not to. So, yeah. I mean, there were so many things. And also, why are we above lying when it comes to our life? Like, there is a situation where she's in a restroom. And I won't go into much detail. It's not really a spoiler, but I won't tell you what really happens. But basically, this lady thinks that she is wasted. And even if that was the case, like, why are we not above lying if you are so afraid for your life? You know what I mean? Like, if I were in that situation, I would be like, he did this. He drugged me. Like, he did that. So save me. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Who cares? Just, why aren't you smart? why is, anyways, I read that. So I also read this really cute novella. It's also very short. And this is called The Christmas Tree Farm. This is another no smut, very clean romance. It was really sweet. It's actually more literary side than romance. The romance kind of comes out of nowhere and wraps up really dramatically fast to the point where you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Did I miss a chapter? So Yeah, that was, I mean, that was, it is what it is. It's fine. There's a lot of things, you just have to allow it to happen in your head. I think I gave this 3 stars. So, yeah. Yeah. It's a Christmas story, okay? It's about this sister comes home and her sister is like taking care of the Christmas tree farm and she's like wanting to sell it. And then the girl that came home, she's like, no, you can't sell it. Like, this is what I want to actually do for the rest of my life. And the other sister's like, well, you weren't here, so what do you want? And that's it. Yeah. And then they, save the Christmas tree farm. So, anyways, moving on. I also read this. This is called Christmas at Silver Falls. I'm going to be honest with you. I love Hallmark. I love Christmas. And there is a lot. There is a fly. I didn't get it. There is a lot that I can let go. There's a lot that I can pretend. But this was kind of difficult. It was so immature. It was so lacking. Yes, it is no smut and no spice. And I think people forget that just because there is no smut and no spice does not mean it needs to be also no common sense and like very like the way this girl wrote it, it sounds like 2 10-year-olds. Even the way her dad spoke to her, like the main character, even the way her dad spoke to her, he spoke to her as if she was a child. Like, her conversation with her 17-year-old cousin, her cousin sounds more mature than the main character. And it just rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, come on, guys. You don't have to be dumb, you know? Like, that doesn't need to be a thing. So, would I recommend this one? No. This is probably one of the only ones that I would not recommend where I'm like, you can skip this one. Because maybe if this one was also like the Spruce Crossing Christmas and it was only 60 pages, I would be like, oh yeah, it's great. But no. Otherwise, no. This one, you can pass on this one. I read 2 thriller books that were Christmas related. This one's Candy Cane Killer, and then this one is Gingerbread and a Murder. And they were both fun. They were both cute. Not really much to tell you. Like, they were very cheesy. Did I predict what happened in the very beginning? Yes, I did. Do I regret it? No, I don't. Do I recommend it? Yeah, I think I do. These are in a series, but I didn't know that reading them. Like, I just read these, and then when I went on Goodreads to type it in, I saw that they were actually part of a series. Do you need to read the series? I don't think so, because I got it. I understood what was going on. I was hip. I was involved or whatever. So it was good though. This one is, which one is this one? Oh yeah. This one's where her daughter goes to her neighbor's house to give him like a fruitcake or whatever, and he's like on the lawn deceased, and they're trying to figure out who done it. And then this one is they built a gingerbread house for a competition, and the person who won is kind of a bully, and then she ends up underneath the table, like not alive anymore, and it is not looking good for her niece because everybody thinks that her niece did it, because like the more they go into it, the more she finds out that her niece had like significant problems with this person, and so she's trying to like clear her name. Both of them were funny and cute and adorable. I do recommend. Did I also say that they are clean? They're clean. No smut, either of them. I read also at my parents' house because again, I forgot a book. I read One of Us is Lying. Now, okay, hold on. First of all, I read 200 pages in like 2 hours. I was devouring this book. I was so invested. It was so good. And the thing is that I tried giving this a read before, and then I softly DNF'd it because I was like, you know what? I don't think this book is for me right now. And when I came back to it, I was like, wow, this was so good. It was like, I was just really, really invested in it. I thought it was fantastic. What happens is there is this kid in detention who has an allergic reaction and passes away from it. And the 4 people that were with him in detention are suspects in his passing. And because he was like, had a severe allergy to peanuts and it was in his water cup. So people were like, how did that happen? Somebody tampered with the cup, obviously. And it just was so good. Like, it goes through all of their secrets. And, like, I was really happy with this, actually. I was just, like, really happy with this because it just, like, the way everything intertwined and you get more about their secrets and, like, all this stuff, it just was really good. And I gave it 4 stars. It was really good. Also, if you're wondering about my rating system, that's starting in January, okay? In December, though, we only rate on the Christmas scale. It's a completely different scale. We only rate on the Christmas scale, which is purely a Christmas vibe scale. So December doesn't count, to be honest with you. It just, the ratings, it's, whose line is it anyways? I read Spectacular. This is the Caraval novella, and by Stephanie Garber. It just came out in November. It was so whimsy. It was so fun to read. I really, really liked this one. And I had a really good time reading this book. Like, of all the books that I read, this is probably my favorite that I read in December. It just was filled with magic and whimsy and wonder, and it had everything that you want in a novella, to be honest with you. I gave this 4 stars. It was just tremendously fun, and it was one of those books, like, when you first started reading it, it's one of those books that you almost want to, like, read to your child. Like, I read the first, I think, like, 20 pages to my daughter, and she just was, like, smiling because it's just such a, like, magical world that you're going into. And I just had such a good time with it. Like, I really, truly did. This book I had such a good time with. Now, it does get a little spicy. There's no smut, but it gets spicy. So, but that's towards the end. And it's something, I feel as though it's something that, like, is kind of insignificant to the plot line, so you can just kind of skip it. Like, there's nothing important in there. So if spice makes you nervous or uncomfortable in any way, you can skip that. It is, again, it's towards the end, and you can just skip that whole chapter and just go to the next one. You'll be fine. The last book that I read is actually a reread. I reread Shatter Me. Why did I reread this? It's because I was at my parents' house and I just had my phone. So I have been at my parents' house quite a bit in December, okay? Quite a bit in December. It's the Christmas season and we had family coming over, and every other day my mom was like, you need to come here. You need to come help me. You need to do this. You need to do that. So I was going over there quite frequently. My parents live nearby. It's not like I had to drive. I walked over. Okay, guys, I walked over to my parents' house. So I just reread Shatter Me, and it was on my Kindle. Again, I have the Kindle app on my phone. I don't have the Kindle anymore, but I have the Kindle app on my phone. And what did this teach me? It taught me to bring my Nook with me everywhere. I loved Shatter Me. I think I gave it 5 stars the first time I read it. It's still a 5-star. It's still so good. If you don't know what Shatter Me is about, I don't know where you've been. This book has been out for a very long time. And it's basically a dystopian novel about this girl who's in this asylum. She gets released and she accidentally takes the life force out of a person anytime they touch her. So she is a weapon, and she is trying to get free of this, like, reestablishment. Humanity has kind of just, like, depleted, and everybody now has to think the same, has to read the same, has to dress the same. Everything has to be the same because of the reestablishment. They've like dictated this, and there's like one world leader, one world language, all of this. Like, no creativity, no one think outside of the box, and because of that, she's trying to, like, not be a part of that anymore, and she's trying to get free. So it's a very good book. It is a very good book. Me explaining it is not doing it very well. I apologize. My brain is a little fried right now. I probably should record this on a different day. Unfortunately, I don't have another day to record it. So this is what you're getting. Anyways, that's the 18 books that I read in December, though. And I had a really good reading month, to be honest with you. 18 books, that's not bad. I've already finished one book in January, and I'm in the middle of 4 right now, possibly 5 starting tomorrow. So we'll see how that works out. But I do think I'm going to finish at least... Okay, here we go. No, it flew away. I think I'm able to finish at least 2 this week. I think I'll be able to finish at least 2 this week because I'm very close to finishing 2. So I'm very excited about that. But I did read 126 books in 2024, and I learned so much in 2024. Okay, I learned a lot about my reading taste. I learned a lot about what I like, what I don't like, and I was able to kind of piece together things that I didn't realize about myself. For instance, I have never been a fan of smut, but I didn't realize when I was reading books specifically that didn't have smut, I didn't realize how much more I was enjoying those books compared to the other books that just like would make me blush, would make me feel super uncomfortable. So when I was like reading books that had smut, I often said like, oh, I skip it, I just skip it. But the thing is that I still had to kind of like skim in order to figure out where it stopped if I didn't just like skip the whole chapter. And that to me, it just would make me super uncomfortable. I have never been interested in anyone's sex life. Like, it is not for me. I do not want to know what happens with you and other people behind doors. Like, I don't want to know about it. So I don't want to know about it. And so reading it in a book, I had that same like, I don't want to know about this. Like, I don't care what you do in your private time. Like, it is not of my concern. So this aspect of your life, you go ahead and you keep that to yourself. So I don't really like it. I don't like the smut. And I'm not saying like kissing is bad, because like I live in the world, and so I see people kiss in public. I see people hold hands in public, and I don't go up to them screaming like, no, you make me uncomfortable. Like, that's not an issue for me. But I have never seen anyone fornicate in public. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's a line. And that is where my line is. Now, this is my personal beliefs. These are probably not everyone's definitely not everyone's personal beliefs. And to each their own. Like, honestly, read whatever you want to read, as long as you're not hurting anyone. So I don't care what you do in your private time. Once again, I don't care what you do in your private time. Unfortunately, I realized that I really liked being liked by complete strangers on the internet. And so when I read the very popular books, for instance, when I read Elsie Silver's cowboy romances, what was it? Chestnut Springs. When I read Chestnut Springs and when I read Elle Kennedy's books, like, it made me feel good because other people really enjoy those books. And so I read it with other people, and it was fun to be in that community, in that group, and to be able to discuss things and like giggle and laugh. But it was not fun reading the books. And I don't know what it is, but going into 2025, I no longer care. I don't care. I just don't care anymore. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. That's okay. If you want to read the same books I'm reading, if you don't want to read the same books I'm reading, that's okay. I'm all right if you subscribe or unsubscribe. I'm okay with all of it, because I just want to read to have fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just want to have a good time. I want to have a good time reading. I am not having a good time reading Chestnut Springs. So that's out for me. It's just not something that I'm interested in. And I realized that in 2024, I realized that it was okay to not read books with spice. I honestly didn't know that there were books without. I thought it was just YA. Like, I thought that was a thing. Like, I thought you could only read YA or Christian fiction. And it wasn't until I read or I heard about Annabelle Monaghan, I think that's what her name is, the summer romance book, when that came out and everyone was saying, oh, it doesn't have any smut. I was like, those exist? and it's for adults. So obviously I assumed that, oh, it must be like really bad writing. No. It was fantastic. It was such a good read. It was so interesting. I was really into it. I was really focused in it. And it was wonderful. It was so wonderful. I really loved that book. I loved the author. Like, it was just fantastic. So I didn't know that that existed. I didn't know that whole world existed. And that was such a great time to learn about it and experience it and come into fruition with it. So that was great. Another thing that I learned, and hold on one second. Okay, sorry, I was getting messages. I love epic fantasy books. I love fantasy in general. I love that genre. I don't like romantasy. I don't like it. I don't like romantasy. It's not for me. It's not for me. And it's got nothing to do with like the romance aspect, because I love romance books. I still really enjoy a good romance book. I still really enjoy a good cheesy, enemies to lovers type of thing. I just am not a fan of romance in fantasy. And I don't know why that is. Or maybe it's not that. Maybe because I love The Cruel Prince, and there's a subplot of romance, a very, very small subplot. The Cruel Prince is a high fantasy book with a very minimal subplot of romance. It's not until like literally the last book. But I really loved that whole series. Just as a whole, I loved that series. So I wonder if I don't mind romance and fantasy. I just don't want it to be about the whole thing. I really love the plots in fantasy books. I like the politics. I like the wars. I like everything that's happening in it. It's just so fascinating to me. So maybe that's what I really like about the fantasy books. I also learned that I like literary fiction. I didn't realize how much I liked literary fiction. I don't know if I was traumatized by a literary book a long, long time ago. I have no idea what happened, but I used to be so scared to read literary fiction. I thought it would be boring or anything like that. And I used to be a part of Haley Barber's Patreon. She doesn't have a Patreon anymore, and now she does it on Fable. But she used to have a Patreon, and she had a Discord channel, and there was a book club involved in it. And we read literary fiction books originally. That's what she read. And so we all read that with her. And I had such a fun time reading those books. Like, I read some amazing, they became some of my favorite books to read. It was so good. It was so fun to read and very interesting. I read books that I just would never have picked up, that I had never heard of. And I was very excited about that. So I learned that I love literary fiction going into 2025. I also learned that I really like YA. I just do. I really like YA. I like the simplicity of it. I love a good thriller novel. What other genres do I like? I have such a good time reading, and I have very few like, oh, that one's not for me type of moments. So I don't know, I'm just very excited. And so going into 2025, I'm just like, okay, great. Like, what else do I like? Do I like classics? Like, what else is it that I'm enjoying? And I'm having such a fun time going out of my comfort zone to find out what I like to read. And I have a wide variety of things that I enjoy reading. So yeah, that's it. It's a good time. I love a lot of the nonfiction books that you guys have like sent my way. I looked them up and I read the backs and I was like, wow, these sound so interesting. They sound so good. I'm excited to read this. So there's a lot of books out there that I didn't know that I would like, and now I know that I like it. So that's exciting. Okay, I have compiled my favorites of 2024. This was my favorite YA series, the Belladonna series. Absolutely phenomenal. I loved Belladonna. I loved Foxglove. I loved Wisteria. They are a gothic YA fantasy, and it was phenomenal. It is, the first two books go around this girl named Signa, and she can see death. So she is the Belladonna and Foxglove series. And then Wisteria is around her cousin, and that I can't tell you about because it spoils books 2. So I won't tell you about that. But I I will tell you that all three were fantastic, and it's one of my favorite YA series. Again, gothic fantasy. It was just phenomenal. It was just such a wild ride. I give that series a 5-star for the whole series. And in 2024, I finished all three of them. So definitely, definitely read those. If you haven't read Belladonna, you need to get on it. My favorite cozy fantasy has to be The Spell Shop. This was a fantastic book. I was so happy to read it as soon as it came out. This is just one of those like very cozy. It's about this librarian who basically sets up shop, and she sells spells, but like spells are illegal, so she calls them recipes. And it's just so cozy and so fun and so nice, very low stakes. And it was a good palate cleanser. It's just a good time to read when you're like cozying up. I do recommend this in the autumnal season, where like the leaves are changing colors. It's that perfect time of year to cozy up with this, maybe with some apple cider or maybe with the pumpkin spice latte. It's just so cozy. It's so good to read. And she is coming out with an epic fantasy. I don't know if she had written that before and now it's being traditionally published. I'm not sure how that worked, but she does have an epic fantasy coming out and I'm very excited to read that. My favorite adult gothic series has to be, and if you don't know what I'm about to say, like where have you been? It has to be the One Dark Window series, the duology. It was so good. This one blew my mind away. This one, I had such a good time reading it. And both of them are just so great. The magic system is something that I've never come across before. And it's basically like these playing cards, kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Not really like Yu-Gi-Oh! But they're kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where there's like these playing cards and they give you magic. But there's only so many in the deck. Once you like play the card so many times though, it becomes you. Like you are the card. And she's trying not to go insane. These books are just so good. They just were so fantastic. And like it's about like there's like dark magic that's infecting the city and they're trying to like cure that. Oh, it's just, please read this series. Like it's just so good. And there is romance in these books as well. And is it bad? No, I really liked it. I really liked the duology, so I do recommend it. I think the romance in this one worked a lot better than this one. This one was more like tension filled. So yeah, but I do think that this could have been just one large book, and the second half of like, not the second half, but like half of this book is a different storyline. I do think that could have been its own book. I don't think it needed to be in this one, but I still very much enjoyed it. Like it was really, really good. I just wish it had its own book, if that makes sense. All right, staying in that fantasy area, my favorite epic fantasy was actually my first epic fantasy that I read, and that was Priory of the Orange Tree. This is a 5-star book for me. Not the second one. The second one, we pretend it didn't happen. But the first one, girl, I loved this story. I loved it so much. I read this book and I was blown away. Like the writing, it just is so beautiful. It's just such beautiful prose. I don't remember like everything. I know that like the dragons play like a big part, but there's like different dragons for different areas. Also the queen, like she can only have one child and it's always, always, always a girl. And after she has that child, she can't have any more kids. That's it. You can have one kid and that's it. And it's like important to keep the family line going. So anyways, this was so good. It really was though. Like it really was really good. I very much enjoyed it. So, yeah, highly recommend Priory of the Orange Tree. There's a lot of politics in this one. I am excited for when book 3 comes out. So, I don't know when that's coming out though. She said she was taking her sweet time with it. So, but I'm kind of grateful for that because I feel like book 2 it just read rushed. So I'm grateful that she's taking your time for book 3 because I'm very excited to see what happens. Our characters are left off in not a good area, so I'm excited to see what happens. In 2024, I read sci-fi, and I started getting into sci-fi, and my favorite sci-fi book has to be Starter Villain by John Scalzi. I still talk about this book today. I still recommend this book today. Like, I'm telling everyone, you gotta read, you gotta read, you gotta read, you gotta read. John Scalzi, so funny, so humorous. This book is about this guy. Oh, I thought my phone was ringing. Sorry. Anyways, this guy's uncle passes away and he leaves his evil empire to him, and he's got to like take over as this villain, and it is so funny. It is so funny. I had a really good time with this one. Yeah, highly recommend it. Cannot wait until John Scalzi's new book coming out in March. That one's going to be even better because I'm in love with John Scalzi. So, and his writing, just his writing, not him. I've never met the guy, but his writing, so good. Really excited. Let's go towards thriller, I suppose. So I read quite a few thrillers in 2024, I would say, but my favorite thriller was actually a YA thriller, and that was the reappearance of Rachel Price. This is by Holly Jackson. I really like Holly Jackson's books. She also wrote A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I loved. It was one of the first books that I read when I got back into reading, and she read Five Survive, and that one was not my favorite. It was not my favorite. I think it's just really difficult, similar to Survive the Night. It's very difficult to write a book in only one night's worth of time. Like it's all in the same night. And I think that's really difficult to do. So Five Survive was not my favorite, but this one, so good. About a mockumentary about this girl's mother who like disappeared, and all of a sudden she's back, and a lot of things go down. Like a lot of things go down. But I had a really good time reading this, you know? I had a really good time like learning about these characters and learning about Rachel Price and learning about Belle and learning about Belle's family and all this stuff. It was really good. And yeah, I had a good time. Only if you're lucky. I think this is like a thriller, but it's kind of like a literary fiction / thriller. But yeah, I really liked this one. This is one of the books that I read in Haley Barber's book club when she had it on Discord or through Patreon, but like on Discord. This is one of the books that I read, and I had such a good time reading it. I would never have picked this up if it had not been for Haley Barber, so I'm so grateful for that, and I'm so grateful. That's why I really love book clubs, because I get these books that I've never heard of and never would read before, so I'm just so excited to learn these new genres and pick up these different books. That's why I have this channel, because you guys recommend me books and I try them out, and sometimes they're great and sometimes they're not, but like the point is that I'm getting out of my comfort zone, reading things that I would not have read otherwise. So this one was super, super good. It's about these girls that were in college. They're under investigation because this girl that was their roommate passed away, and they clearly know something. Like something clearly happened, but they're not opening up, and they're basically pleading the fifth. They're like, I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Why would I know? I don't know. And it's good. It's good. It keeps you on your toes. You have no idea what's going on until the very end, and the ending is revealed. But I had no clue. It does like a past, present timeline, and oh my gosh, as you're further reading it, you're like, what is going on here? This was a fantastic novel. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I cannot recommend it enough. Only if you're lucky. So good. Definitely have to grab this one if you haven't read it already. I have 2 books left of some of my favorite books in 2024 in different genres. And so I do want to talk about expanding upon the literary fiction. I did read Float Plan. This book tore me apart. I was sobbing my eyes out. I have never cried so hard from a book. And I mean, this really ripped my heart and shredded it to pieces. I have nothing but good things to say about this book. After saying all that, I have nothing but good things to say about this book. I had such a great time reading it. It is about a woman whose boyfriend passed away through his own means. He took his own life, and she is just in this deep depression. They were supposed to go on this boating trip to some place, I can't remember where, and her alarm goes off, her calendar reminder goes off that she's supposed to take this trip with her boyfriend, and it just kind of like ruins her. So she decides to take the trip anyways. She decides to go on the boat and just do it. And so she does, and she kind of returns calls while she's on the sea by the way, I'm gone. So she goes and does this, and it's a beautiful story on grief and moving forward, and it's just like how complex grief is and how it feels like when you're mourning the loss of someone, you want to stay stuck because you think that that's how you honor their memory, is by like staying stuck in time and never moving forward, never progressing, never experiencing joy or happiness ever again, because if you do, you're not honoring that person. And just the complexity around this, and it was so beautiful. It was just so beautiful. I have nothing but good things. Like, honestly, I have nothing but good things. I really loved watching this character slowly piece her life back together and heal. And it was just so great because it was very similar to real life, where it is not linear. Like, you are not just like, I am so great, I am improving. Like, it's not that the whole time. There are like, I am so, oh, okay. I am, no. Like, it is a very much like a roller coaster ride. And so I loved that about this book, though. I really did. There is a little bit of a subplot of romance in this, but mostly it's a healing journey. So I do recommend it, though. Do recommend it. And then the last book that I have, which is a literary fiction / romance, is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I love Emily Henry books. I love them. I read Happy Place. That was fantastic. I read Book Lovers. That was fantastic. I have now read Beach Read, and this again is around grief, but it's about these two authors who are next to each other in these beach houses, and they decide to switch genres because one person's like, I can write yours in my sleep. Like, it's not difficult. And then she's like, I could write yours in my sleep. Yours is not anything special. And so they switch genres and decide to write a book in each other's genre, and whoever gets published first wins. And yeah, they have this magical connection where they're able to speak to each other through literary means, and it's just like, it's such a good time to read this book. It is such a beautiful, like, I don't know, the way that Emily Henry writes, it's just so lyrical. I don't even know how to explain her writing. It is just such a good time, though. I do highly recommend Emily Henry in general, like as an author in general. But if you do want a good romance, I do recommend Beach Read. Even though I think this is supposed to be literary fiction, I think it's a great romance book. Can't remember if there's any smut or spice in this. I think there is like one scene, and I think it's like a paragraph long, but I can't remember anything else. Maybe I just blocked that out. I don't know. But I definitely loved this book. And that concludes 2024. And that concludes my time with 2024. And I'm excited for 2025. Already I have read my first nonfiction book, which I will talk about in the next video because it's very controversial. And so I want to do a video just to kind of get it out of the way so that you guys can know what I'm reading and do with that as you will. I have already read my first nonfiction book. I have also been like getting all these other books. People have been recommending me epic fantasies. I have been recommended thrillers, and there's a fly. But I've been recommended all of these things, and I'm so excited for 2025 because I really think 2025 is going to be my year of reading, and it's going to be my year of finding all of these incredible books. I know this channel is called My Friend Made Me Read It, and it started off as a joke because my friend literally was telling me, you've got to read this book. And so for a while, every book I read was from one of my friends being like, you have to read this book. Thus the name was inspired. And so this book is a lot about recommendations from you guys, and I appreciate those recommendations. But I do think that 2025 is where I am able to ask people for recommendations with a much clearer identity of what I am looking for. So instead of just being like, yes, I want to read nonfiction, which is what I did at first, now I'm able to say, okay, this is what I like in the nonfiction section. I love biographies. I love Christian. I love psychology. I love science and math in general. Like, I love social studies books. I really love that. And if it tailors into the human well-being, great, fantastic. That's what I want to read. And so, yeah, like, I've just been having such a good time, guys. I've been having such a good time. I'm able to say, like, yes, I want recommendations for romance, but I do not want a cheating trope, a pregnancy trope. I don't want a dark romance. I don't want a romance with a lot of smut. I don't want a romance with heavy spice. I just am discovering all these things about myself. I'm very excited. I hope you guys are also discovering things that you enjoy and books that you like to read. So that's good. And yeah, I think that's everything. I apologize if this was kind of all over the place and if my attention was kind of lost here and there. I'm trying so hard, guys. I'm trying so hard. We are getting more sleep at night. I'm able to sleep now for like 2 hours straight before I have to, my alarm goes off to feed her. So before I was getting like up to an hour before my alarm would go off because she would just be like, she just wasn't good at night. She didn't like to go down at night. And now she's getting so much better. So it's good. I have my alarm set for every 3 hours because I feed her. It usually takes her about an hour to like finish feeding. And then now, after she's done getting a good feed, and now she's staying latched longer. This is all information you probably don't care about, but that's all right because the one person who is also a mom is probably like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Or if somebody just had a baby recently, they're probably like, when did they start latching for longer? Because I'm struggling right now. She's 9 weeks old. And today's Monday, January. It's the first Monday of January. What day is today? The 6th? Today's January 6th. It's a Monday. She's 9 weeks old. She'll be 10 weeks on Friday, okay? And she now, just this weekend, has been able to stay latched the whole time she's feeding. So it's not even taking her the full hour anymore. She is staying latched, and then she feeds, and when she's done feeding, she's falling asleep. She's getting that milk drunkenness, you know what I'm talking about? Where like she's like, okay, I had a good time. Now I'm trying to take a nap here. And she's learning how to get the gas out on her own. This is fantastic. We love this. We love to see it. So I'm having a really good time. Her neck strength, oh my gosh. Tummy time has never been more exciting than when her neck strength is so good that she's able to smile and have a good time instead of like flip out. So we love to see it. So anyways, I'm going to let you guys go. Please like, comment, subscribe on the video. Things that you can comment. I want to know your top faves of 2024 for the books that you read and your top faves of the books that I read. So like any book that I read in 2024 where you're like, oh, I loved that video. I loved the books that you read in that video, all of that stuff. I need to know these things so that I can replicate it. You know what I mean? I want to give you more good videos in 2025 as we go into the 2025 year. So yeah, definitely tell me your faves, your loves, your likes, your dislikes, whatever. I need to know, what were the books that you really enjoyed in 2024 that you personally read? And I don't need to know the books that you didn't love. I feel like the books that we didn't like, that can just stay in 2024. We don't need to keep them. You know what I mean? We don't need to bring them up. We're good with that. But I do want to know the ones that you really liked, because I feel like when you're talking about the ones that you really liked, you're going to have this passion where you're like, oh my gosh, it was so good. It was so amazing. There were so many great moments, the characters, the plot, the storyline, everything about it. Like, I want to hear about that. I want to hear the good stuff. So give me the goods so that I can take those notes and put them on my TBR as well. Okay, bye.